Welcome to Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I am sharing experiences, true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all episodes of the show along with links to social media and other ways to listen to the show and ways to support the show at the website, and that is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. You can support the show in many ways. You can always share the show with others and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platform. You can also sign up for the Patreon page and get extra content there for as little as $1 a month. And you can also check out the merchandise store, which has all kinds of shirts and other items with designs on them for the podcast made by friends of the show. So support is never expected but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows. Also, please check out links to friends of the show in every episode description. That would be, of course, Jen, the Arcane Observer, who also has her own channel and co-hosts here on Saturdays with me. Uh, and then Michael Strange of Trouble Minds Radio and the Trouble Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting, where you can hear all kinds of amazing shows, as well as my own 24/7 over there on the network on online radio. So thank you all for being here. I see you there in the chat suites. Thank you for being here as well. Good to see you as always. And yeah, thank you all for listening here. So this is uh, an experiences show, and this is where I share true paranormal stories on the web. And I really enjoy. This is one of my favorite types of shows to do. Um, it's always hard to pick because I do enjoy all of them in different ways, but this is up there. And so let me get to the document here, and we'll get started. We also started a minute late, so I get to go a little bit long today because I was distracted and thinking about all kinds of things, and looked and it was already past time. So I think I have to adjust my clock too because it may be behind like by a minute. So that's fun. Anyway, um, all right. So this first one says, I had a vivid dream that not only felt like imagination, but that I caught a glimpse into a parallel universe. I was who I was now, but instead of living in in Georgia, there we go. I lived in New York with my husband. We were living in a two-story brownstone, to where the price was a steal. The economy there is clearly better, and they're talking about their in their dream there at the time. So I don't know what it's actually like there now. It says I was pregnant. I am newly pregnant, but in this timeline, I was showing. I was showing clearly. I lost my spot. All right. Okay, I was showing. There we go. I missed the period. He was about to go to the station. He's a firefighter, and my parents were visiting in town. Life was seemingly easier. Although I'm not struggling now, we know how the economy is. I almost find myself mourning this version of myself. We live in a beautiful place now, and I appreciate it. But the dream, it was even more massive, and it had wood floorings. I don't think I was working. I didn't have to work. I was literally barefoot and pregnant. Has this ever happened to anyone? I truly feel like I caught a glimpse into a parallel universe version of myself because it was too vivid and intricate not to be one. And that's where that one ends. And I had to share that because um, of all the weird experiences I've had with sleeping or falling asleep. Yes, time is weird. Falling asleep and having these similar things, I think, where I was in another version of reality as I know it here, and things were Uh, Sometimes only slightly different. Other times, kind of really different by a lot. And so I've had several of these now, and I think I even had them before I realized what they were. A couple of them. So I like to point these out because I don't think it's just me. Obviously, so I thought that was an amazing one there. That someone else had that, and I've been looking for more of those now since I've been having more of these experiences because I'm curious. It's always amazing when you can find similar things to what you've experienced and from other people that you don't know, and sort of compare notes and get some kind of validation, or at least make yourself feel better that it's probably not just your mind making things up. I do wonder about the imagination part. I wonder if that's part of a gateway into these other um, experiences. I could um, I could get behind that. I could understand that sort of the mind wandering in and of itself, but then somehow connecting to other versions of reality, other versions of that same mind, possibly. I don't know, but so I thought that was a neat one there. And yeah, thank you all for being here and listening in. And so yeah, I thought that was an amazing one there to share on the show. And moving on to the next one here. So I just have to find where it starts. Okay, there we go. Um, so this one says, when I was in seventh grade, around 6 years ago, I had this weird glitch type experience that I still can't explain to this day. I was sweeping my classroom after class, and I had this hair tie on my wrist that had little decorative balls hanging from it. While I was sweeping, I felt one of the balls fall off. I saw it hit the floor and immediately looked around for it. I checked under chairs, my bag, even the broom area. It was just gone. I gave up after a while, thinking I'd lost it forever. Later that day, I went home, changed into my house clothes, and was just lying on my bed, relaxing, when suddenly I heard something drop on the mattress beside me. I looked, and it was the exact same ball from my hair tie. I froze. I knew it was the same one. It was a unique color and part of a specific or that specific accessory. I had already changed clothes and checked everything. There's no way it was stuck on me or in my bag, especially not after all that movement and hours had passed. To this day, I have no idea how it ended up on my bed. I saw it fall at school. I never found it there, but it somehow followed me home or just appeared. Still messes with my head, and that's where that one ends. That to me, I think all these labels that you put on things, I think they're somewhat tricky. Like I think they're useful, but they're also tricky. Funny, we were talking about this on Trouble Minds Radio last night as I'm recording this a bit with words, and I don't know if that's really a glitch in the Matrix or in reality as they call it. I don't know what that is, or maybe it's a combination of somehow it vanished, and I've shared accounts of that where things just fall and then or they just vanish and then reappear. I guess if it reappeared in the air, then it would explain why it fell on the bed. And it does make me wonder, how does that work? Was there some consciousness that uh, returned this part of this accessory to the writer there, or was it something to do with? And this is I don't know how this would work, of course, but something to do with the writer and their own energy and the way energy works. Can energy create sort of miniature portals that things can drop into, be in there for who knows how long, and then drop out of somewhere else. I'm wondering about that now because other than that, I don't know of how this could happen without some kind of intelligence, um, maybe noticing and finding this thing, or even being curious about what it was, because I think that happens too at times, and then returning it to the person. I had um, a phone, one of my old phones that I had back when I used to sleep in the bedroom that I use as a storage room now. One night, I went to bed, and I put the phone on the table next to the bed, and next day when I woke up, the phone was not on the table, and it was not on the floor next to the table. So I started searching around further for it, and I found this pair of pants that I had set down on the floor near the bed because I'm not the tidiest person out there. And the phone was in the pants pocket. Now I know I didn't put it there, and I wonder if it was someone that was curious about what may have been to them this new technology, and for whatever reason, whether they wanted to get my attention or they just didn't care where they left it or where I found it, I don't know. But um, it was not where I left it. It was not anywhere that I could have knocked it off the table. It was in a pocket. So I do wonder about that when items vanish and reappear like that. So moving on to the next one here. Uh, this one says something incredibly unsettling happened, and I can't stop thinking about it. I helped an elderly, that's a word I have a hard time saying, woman with her trash can today near the store. We chatted, and I mentioned seeing her husband walking around. She looked at me, her eyes sad. He passed away last October, she said. Here's the thing. I've seen him multiple times since then, walking around the store parking lot. He always had his cane, doing his usual loop. He mentioned he liked getting out in the sun, even though he'd had skin cancer removed a few times. The weirdest part, just last week, he waved to me like he knew me. I instinctively waved back, and it gets even weirder. I told my mom about it, and she said, "Oh yeah, I saw him walking around the store the other day, too." He waved at me. The store is built on the site of an old, abandoned grocery store. Different company. Locals always said that the place was cursed. So both my mom and I have seen this man, who is supposedly dead, walking around the store and waving at us. What the heck? I'm officially terrified. Anyone else experience anything like this? And that's where that one ends. I understand why they're terrified, but I don't think they need to be. It sounds like whatever is going on there, whether it's a ghost or spirit or soul or consciousness, again, those words, however you want to describe it, whether it's that or whether it's some kind of weird time anomaly where that's just a sort of a thin area or an area with weird energies going through it, and it allows people to interact with other times. It doesn't seem like this person is doing anything negative in any way. Um, so I don't know, but that's amazing. You have multiple people having these experiences. I don't know if there's anything to the idea that the area is cursed. I don't know if I would call it that if that's all that's happening there. Um, but of course, that's some people think that any kind of anomalous activity is negative because of their belief systems or whatever they may have learned and and whatever they feel seems right to them. So, but I wouldn't personally call that kind of an experience, or that kind of an area where that kind of experience happens. I wouldn't necessarily call that cursed if that's all that was happening. So, but that's an amazing one because it's not just one person having this similar experience. It's several. It sounds like. So, really amazing there. And this is something that comes up every so often when I'm doing these shows. Is I always wonder how many people that we see when we're out in public every day. How many of them are regular, living, physical people here in this world in this time, and how many are not? How many are different in some way, that we have no idea about because they don't do anything. Again, they don't do anything unusual or terrifying or whatever. They're just going about their own business, and yeah, I just wonder about that, especially when it's people that you just you just pass by, you just see them going around, moving around, doing things, and you don't really interact with them. And how would we know unless we really got to know everyone? So this one starts off, says, so this memory recently came back to me when I was taking out the trash. When I was younger, our house had a huge swamp cooler, which is a type of air conditioning or air cooling system, in one of the upstairs windows that pointed to the street. It was a hot day, so I was sitting on the couch next to it and yelling into it because of the funny noises it made. I think they were possibly a kid when they did this, but maybe not. I then remember hearing, yeah, I think it was actually, I think they were a kid. Remember hearing talking through the swamp cooler, so I peeked above it to look outside to see who was there. What I saw were three or four ladies in what seemed like big Victorian dresses. I remember them being bright, vivid colors, but I don't remember the exact colors now. They were walking up the street and laughing and talking, but I didn't know what they were saying. Our trash can was sitting out there since it was trash day, and for some reason they all surrounded it and began putting a tea set on top of it. They poured themselves tea and just started drinking it. Then, me being a weird kid, I decided it would be funny to try and sound like an angry adult and yell in what I thought to be or thought was a deep voice into the swamp cooler. I said something like, "Hey, get off my trash can." I remember thinking that was hilarious, and after I said that, I peeked out the window again, and they looked worried and began quickly picking up the tea set. Then, as soon as they got the last cup up off the garbage can, I blinked and they were gone. I, along with a number of people, had some weird things happen in that house, so I remember telling my family about it too, or to try and also have a cool story, but they just made fun of me for breaking up a tea party. Anyway, just thought I'd see if anyone else had seen something similar. Very curious as to what I interrupted. And that's where that one ends. That one to me is wild. Did they did those women were they did they not know it was a trash can? Did it look like something else to them? Was there some kind of a park there at some point in another time, um, where there was a table there that the writer was not seeing because it wasn't there for him for them? Uh, or were they some kind of other beings that acted in certain ways and were there just to get attention from whoever was there, or even not? They were just there, um, on whatever business they were on, and decided to stop and talk and rest for a minute somehow, and didn't realize that there was a person that saw them do something that would seem so strange. Uh, and then they called them out. The person called them out on it, and they they uh they were surprised. It seems like, but then they vanished. So that really is an amazing experience there, an odd one that I don't know. Uh, there's no easy way to go with it as far as who or what those people were or why they did what they did. But I think it's fascinating, especially when you have these accounts like this where it just doesn't make sense in what's happening and what's being done. And but it sounds like the area, the house, had some other things happening around it too. So who knows? Uh, that's an amazing one. I don't know what to make of that. Let's get through. We'll probably get through two more here. We may go a little bit long with this episode because since I messed up the timing to begin with anyway. Uh, this one says, I thought I'd ask here as I can't find any solid answers elsewhere. Looking for others that may have had similar experiences or thoughts from others. I was resting in bed, just recently woke from sleep. I didn't check the time, but from the sunlight coming in from outside, it was roughly between the hours of 5 and 7 in the morning. I heard repeated knocking on what I assumed was my bedroom window, a total of 5 to 6 knocks. Then it happened again, about 5 or 10 seconds later, for the same amount of knocks. I didn't hear it again after that. I live in a tall house. My bedroom is 2 floors up, so roughly about 30 feet from the ground. The house itself is quite old, but it's been modernized during World War II. Another resident has had a similar experience, but that was a long time ago. I do have an elderly grandparent who lives nearby who is not who is unwell. Excuse me, unwell. Not sure if these things are related. Never heard this before. I've been living in the building a long time. Any advice or similar experiences are welcome. Um, so I have heard of knocks on windows that are too far up off the ground. Knocks or taps or bumps uh, that don't make sense. Uh, I'm guessing that since there was a previous owner that had a similar experience, then I'm guessing these experiences don't have anything to do with the grandparent that was not doing well at the time, unless they are completely separate. But it's hard to say. But based on just that, I don't. I'd be very surprised if that was happening because of that when it seemed to mimic or not mimic, but seemed to be so similar to a previous experience from someone else that was not related, possibly. So I don't know, but we'll do one more story here and then we'll stop. Since, like I said, I sort of messed up the time when I started to begin with. This one says, I used to live in an old apartment, the kind where you sometimes hear random creaks and noises. One night I was lying on a mattress directly on the floor using my phone. I heard some faint sounds, the kind you brush off as the just an old building settling. Then I felt it. The mattress dipped as if someone had stepped onto it. One step, two, maybe three, right beside me. In that instant, my brain connected the dots. Those random noises I'd heard before, or seconds earlier, I mean, weren't the house. They were footsteps across the floor, coming straight toward me. I quickly turned, expecting to see my son, but No one was there. The door to his bedroom was closed. When I checked, he was sound asleep. I was frozen, realizing something had walked across the floor, stepped onto my mattress, and then vanished. Months later, after we'd moved, I told my husband. He went pale and said the same thing had happened to him in our new apartment. Lying in bed, he felt what he thought was my son hitting the front of the mattress, only to find nobody there. We were both fully awake when it happened. No sleep paralysis, no dreams. Has anyone else experienced something like this? And that's where that one ends. Only thing I'm wondering about there, and I have to wrap this up quick, is was it the son, or yeah, was it the child having out of body experiences? But again, I don't know. Thank you all for listening, and I'll talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.